Hello and welcome to the Malika Writes channel. My name is Malika Writes, and today we are going to be talking about Mikasa. So I've spoken about her previously in one of my other question and answer videos, but today I wanted to do a video specifically targeted at Mikasa because I said in my previous video I wasn't sure about my opinion of this character. I wasn't really sure where I stood with her. So I've had some time to go back and think and to sort of just sit with this character in my mind and come to a conclusion. So this is my conclusion. For those of you who do not know who I'm talking about, Mikasa is one of the protagonists in the popular show Attack on Titan, and she is the female lead of this show. She is one of the most important characters. Her family was killed at a very young age, so she was taken in by the main character's family, main character being Eren Yeager, and she develops a very strong bond with him because he wraps the scarf around her neck, and this scarf comes to symbolize Mikasa's safety. So because of this, Mikasa naturally has a very strong bond with Eren, and we see this almost come to define her character. And there's nothing wrong with that. If we look at Mikasa's backstory, the tragedy that she experienced, I don't think there's anything wrong with her finding safety in a person, or with her sort of depending on someone for safety, even though that isn't a healthy thing. But we're not dealing with a cast full of healthy, trauma-free characters. We're dealing with a cast that is routinely traumatized and continues to go through traumatic events and have to make very tough decisions. So my problem with Mikasa has never been her dependency on Eren, because I think that it's adequate. If we look at Mikasa's history, which I'm going to give now, and it's a kind of a spoiler, but at this point we're talking season 1 sort of stuff, so if you haven't seen it, you probably weren't going to see it. So Mikasa was born of an Asian mother, and her father was the member of the Ackerman clan. So the Ackermans are this group of people who are powerful enough to stand up to the Titans without actually being Titans themselves. And she lived very peacefully with her family in this sort of farmland. But the thing is, for whatever reason, partly because her mother is rare in the setting that Attack on Titan takes place on the island of Paradise, some traffickers come to their house and they kill her parents and they take Mikasa to traffic her. But she's only 9 years old at this point, and that's, for anyone who has kids, that's a very vital age. It's a very kind of, it's an age where people develop a lot, where anything that sort of happens to you at that age, you're going to remember it, and it's going to have such a lasting impact on your life, one that is probably going to manifest in a major way. So to have her parents killed in front of her and then be kidnapped by her parents' killers, this is definitely something that will traumatize Mikasa and will come up again, and it will shape her personality. So she's actually rescued by Eren Yeager, who is the same age. A 9-year-old comes in and kills the traffickers. It sounds extraordinary, but anyone who's watched the series knows that Eren is a different type of baby. Eren is a different type of child. He's not normal in any sense of the word, so don't expect anything normal from this child. He's one of those ones that, yeah, he's not normal. So she's rescued by Eren, and he wraps the signature scarf around her neck, and it comes to be something of safety for her, and she wears this scarf all the time, and it becomes a symbol of not just their relationship but also Mikasa's dependency on Eren. And so she never takes off this scarf, and there's sort of a running joke within the fandom about whether this scarf has ever been washed, because we never see her without it, and it's like, okay, so what time did you have to wash that thing? I think there's even a joke. It's like, how many kids do you kill with scarf disease? Because she never washes the scarf. Like, I mean, how that scarf must smell. But it's an anime. We're not supposed to really question the hygiene of Mikasa's scarf. We're just supposed to go with it and assume that she washes it sometimes, even though we don't really see it. Um, so Mikasa's taken in by by this, and she becomes steadfast friends with Armin, who is the other protagonist, and also friends with Eren. So Mikasa's story really centers around Eren. I mean, everyone's stories sort of intersect with Eren's story because Eren is the main character, and as spoiler, as everyone knows, Eren is orchestrating the entire thing. He's orchestrating all the events. So it's only natural that everyone's story is sort of wrapped up or intersects with Eren's story. However, Mikasa's story is deeply embedded in Eren's story, and that isn't even a problem because if we, like I've explained, there's a very traumatic backstory there, and the way that they came together, nobody would sort of disagree that Mikasa is displaying the correct symptomatic trauma responses. So she's it's not a case of bad writing. And I don't want anyone to think that I think Isayama is a bad writer or I think that he didn't write Mikasa properly. This is specifically where I'm going to go into the problem I have with Mikasa. There's no issue with how Mikasa is written for the vast majority of the series. The problem comes in as we get towards the climax. Everybody now who's watching the anime and most of the manga readers who haven't finished already are within the period where we're in the climax. We are in the rumbling period. And the whole focus is on Eren. It's on what Eren's going to do next. What is Ymir doing? How is Zeke doing? Is Levi still alive? These are the questions we're asking. We're not really looking at Mikasa's story arc and going, well, is she a fully developed character? Or what is Isayama doing with Mikasa? I think, but for those of us who have read and finished and sort of had time to step back and had time to look at some of the other characters, I think Mikasa is a very glaring. What happens with her is very glaring, and I'm going to get into some spoilers here because Mikasa is supposed to be freed from Eren by the end of the story. This is Isayama is trying to set up a scenario where Mikasa mirrors Ymir's freedom. So Ymir, for those of you who do not know, is the original Titan. She is the founding Titan. All Titans sprung from her. She and Eren are now working together because Ymir needs to be free from King Fritz, who was her husband, and his will to control the Titans and to control Ymir. So that's going on, the relationship between the two of them, and Eren is supposed to free Ymir. He's basically partnered with her under the pretext that if Ymir lends him her powers, then he will free her. And that's the parallel story that is supposed to be going on with Mikasa. Mikasa is supposed to be freed by Eren's actions. However, it's not set up well enough for this to be obvious to those who are just reading the text. It's a very weak parallel. There's not enough set up because, and it's ruined by one thing. It's ruined by the fact that Mikasa's feelings are continuously shown to the reader to be real, which is a problem. It would be okay if Mikasa's feelings of love for Eren were shown as some sort of trauma response. It would be okay if, like Eren said in previous episodes, that Mikasa was just in love with Eren because she felt tied to him due to the fact that he had the founding Titan. That would be okay. However, what is shown in the story is that Mikasa and Eren actually share a real love story. That this is not, obviously the whole thing isn't a love story, but they have a real love between them, which is not the case. Okay. And that kind of ruins all the build up that we've been having, and it disrupts the parallel story of how Ymir is she wasn't ever really in love with King Fritz. She just felt some kind of loyalty to him because he symbolized safety for her. That was supposed to be it. It wasn't supposed to be true love between Eren and Mikasa. So the fact that this fundamental element of the parallel between Ymir and Mikasa is broken because there is an insistence in the text that this relationship, this bond between them is love and not just trauma, really sets up the story not to it picks at the foundation of the story, and that's my issue with it. Fair enough, I know that there were people wanted a love story between Eren and Mikasa. I know that people wanted them to end up together desperately, and there was a lot of pressure. I believe Isayama got death threats to make that relationship happen, and maybe there was some sort of pressure there. However, it fundamentally picks at the story. It isn't just a surface thing. That parallel was being set up, but it was being disrupted as well with this insistence in the text that no, what they share is real, and Mikasa just wants to be with Eren for real, and it's not because she's an Ackerman that she feels this loyalty towards him. And it's not trauma, it's actually real pure love, which doesn't make sense because you can't really love someone from a place of deficiency. So it has to come from a place of health. And that's not what's happening with Eren and Mikasa. It was never going to be a healthy relationship. It wasn't even going to work in the realm of possibility. I know there's this alternate timeline, but Eren still dies in that timeline. So when I look at the story, that's ultimately my problem with Mikasa. It's not her character, it's what was done with her character. It's the insistence that what she felt for Eren was anything more than a traumatic dependence. It was the insistence that no, this was a healthy, changing, life changing kind of love and romance between the two. It wasn't. It was a child who had come to associate safety and stability and security with a boy who was the same age as her and who happened to be able to stab up the place. It wasn't a healthy relationship. So, um, and throughout the text, Eren doesn't really show the same kind of love that Mikasa shows him, or the same kind of devotion towards Mikasa. He's very much chasing freedom. If anything, the true romance in Attack on Titan is Eren and freedom. So I think that when it comes to Mikasa's writing, that was what irked me. It wasn't that she was a badly written character. I do think that her story sits in line with the factual response of how people respond to trauma. And I do think that she was a very good character to watch on screen. She wasn't just a pretty face, she was stoic. She was somebody who didn't really lose her cool. She was a character that was built up nicely. I just feel like wherever the pressure came from, or even if there wasn't any pressure, even if Isayama just wanted there to be some element of doomed romance, I feel as if there was an inconsistency at the height of the climax that took away from all the building that was going on with Mikasa. And I think that the fact that Mikasa didn't really give Eren up, she continuously kept wearing the scarf. The bird wraps the scarf around her neck. It was like, is she actually free? Like, what are we doing here? What are we watching? And that's a spoiler, by the way, but it just took away from the years of building, and that was the disappointment for me, and that to me soured her character for me and put me in a place where I wasn't really sure what to think of her. But after some time, just looking at the character and going over things, I am firm in my place. I've really just identified what specifically I found wrong about the text. And nothing is perfect, obviously. I still very much enjoy the series. I hope that anyone who is watching it, I haven't spoiled it. Well, I have spoiled it. I've spoiled the entire thing. But I hope that you are not too angry because I did warn you this would contain spoilers. So, I hope you have enjoyed this video, this little rant of mine about Attack on Titan and And also a sort of explanation for why I said certain things about Mikasa in my previous video. Go and check that out if you have no idea what I'm talking about and you kind of want the context for why I'm making this video. But yes, thank you very much for watching, and this has been the Malika Writes channel. I hope you have a lovely day.